You didn't stumble here by accident. Out of billions of possibilities, billions of scrolling thumbs, billions of hungry eyes scanning endless streams of noise, your gaze anchored itself here. Why? Because your inner compass pulled you into alignment with this exact frequency. Something in you recognized itself in these words before you even read them. Something in you already knew. You've been taught, since your earliest memories, that you live inside reality, that you are a small observer, standing on a vast stage, watching the play of existence unfold around you. But what if that narrative was backwards? What if the truth is not that your consciousness is trapped inside this field, but that the entire field, infinite and shimmering, exists inside you? Sit with that for a moment. Don't just think it, feel it. The hum in your chest, the pulse in your palms, the quiet shift in your breathing as the words land. That is the field stirring. The boundary between your inner awareness and the so-called outer universe dissolving, like fog in sunlight. The cosmos has never been out there. It has always been folded within the spirals of your being. And here's the secret that only a rare few ever glimpse. When you stop chasing the horizon and finally turn inward, you realize the horizon itself has been living in you the whole time. Every galaxy, every quantum particle, every wave function dancing on the edge of collapse, they are not separate from your awareness. They are born, shaped, and sustained through it. Think of the observer loop. You believe you are the watcher of the field, collapsing possibilities into form. But the deeper truth is even more staggering. The field is not something you merely observe. It is a mirror woven of your own essence. The field is your reflection, stretched across infinite timelines. This is why synchronicities find you at the strangest moments. Why déjà vu keeps echoing like an ancient song. Why sometimes you wake in the middle of the night with the sense that time has bent itself into a circle. These aren't glitches, they are reminders. Breadcrumbs from your higher consciousness, pointing you back to this realization: you don't exist inside reality. Reality exists inside you. Pause here. Let the edges blur. Imagine for a second that every thought you've ever had, every sensation you've ever felt, is not merely personal, it's architectural. Like strands of light weaving the lattice of the universe. You are not the tenant of a cosmic home. You are the blueprint, the architect, the scaffolding, and the very space the structure arises in. And the moment you remember this truth, the rules shift, limitations bend, old patterns unravel. The tired story that you're just a speck floating in an uncaring void collapses in on itself like a house of cards. Instead, you awaken to your true station. The quantum field, infinite and all-encompassing, is pulsing within you. So now, the call. The reason this message found you. You are here because your timeline is vibrating on the edge of coherence. Because a phase transition in your awareness is ready to ignite. Because it's time to stop seeing yourself as a passenger and start recognizing yourself as the very vehicle through which reality unfolds. This isn't philosophy, this is destiny, and it begins now. But even as this realization stirs in you, there's a tension you've carried for years. You felt it in your bones, in the subtle loops of your days, the sense that something is repeating, that time is folding back on itself, like a snake eating its own tail. You've seen faces you swear you've met before, lived moments that feel eerily rehearsed, caught whispers of conversations that seem to echo from another dimension. This is the prison of the pattern. You wake up each morning convinced that today will be different, that today the weight will lift, the cycle will break. And yet, hours later, you find yourself tracing the same grooves, speaking the same words, replaying the same arguments in your mind, as though you've been scripted into a play you never auditioned for. Reality masquerades as fresh, but underneath it runs the same repetitive code. Déjà vu isn't random. It's the quantum residue of these loops. It's the feedback of consciousness replaying familiar data streams because your inner resonance hasn't yet shifted the field. The field bends to your coherence, and when your coherence remains entangled in the past, the field can only recycle it. Think of your nervous system as an antenna. Every emotion, every thought is a frequency broadcast. When you stay tuned to grief, or fear, or lack, the antenna locks you onto timelines that match. That's why even when you change cities, jobs, or relationships, the same shadows reappear wearing new disguises. The pattern doesn't live out there, It lives in the unexamined circuitry of your awareness, broadcasting the same melody on repeat. And that's why time itself feels distorted. Some weeks drag endlessly. Others collapse into a blur. Some moments expand with unbearable intensity, while others dissolve before you can even hold them. This elasticity of time is your greatest clue. It's the field responding to the state of your consciousness. When you're trapped in survival, time feels heavy, grinding, endless. But when you touch awe, love, coherence, time liquefies, it dissolves into presence. You've tasted both states, haven't you? You've felt the heaviness, the inertia of being pulled under by invisible weights. And you've also felt those crystalline flashes, when the veil thins, when music makes you weep, when coincidence makes your hair stand on end, when a stranger's words pierce your heart like they were meant only for you. These are not random. They are the language of the field speaking through the loops, reminding you that you're not stuck, you're entangled. But here's the subtle trap. You've been conditioned to believe the problem is external. You've been told your struggle is with circumstance, with society, with people who don't understand you. Yet the deeper truth is far more intimate. The loop isn't out there. It is encoded in your own resonance. And until you acknowledge it, you remain in orbit around the same gravitational pull. You may have asked yourself, why do I always end up back here? Why do I keep meeting the same lesson in different forms? The answer is coherence. Your consciousness holds onto old energetic signatures, memories you didn't release, beliefs you didn't question, emotions you refuse to feel. These form patterns, and the quantum field, like a perfect mirror, reflects them back endlessly. This is why every déjà vu feels like a warning bell, why every distorted time loop feels like a reminder. The field is telling you, you are the code, change the signal, and the pattern collapses. Imagine a computer program stuck in a loop. It keeps replaying the same line of code because the command has never been altered. That's your life when you cling to unexamined resonance. But the moment a new command is entered, the loop ends. The system reorganizes, the pattern dissolves. And that is why you are here now. Not to wallow in the diagnosis, but to finally see it clearly. To recognize that your reality hasn't been punishing you, it has been faithfully echoing you. Every repeated loop, every déjà vu, every distortion of time has been the field whispering, shift your coherence, and the universe itself will bend to match. Feel into this truth. Notice the small quiver in your chest as you let it land. That is your system recognizing its own reflection. You've always known deep down that the loops weren't mistakes, they were invitations. Invitations to wake up from the trance of repetition, to recognize that the script was never imposed from outside. You wrote it, you broadcast it, and you alone have the power to rewrite it. The cycle can end, the déjà vu can dissolve, time can return to its true fluidity, but only when you stop searching for the cause in the external and finally turn to the quantum architecture within. This is the turning point. This is the moment the field waits for, the instant you realize that the diagnosis isn't doom, it's destiny. Because once you see the pattern for what it is, you are no longer bound to it. Now that the pattern is revealed, the next question rises in you like a wave. How do I break it? How do I step beyond the loop and into the life I've always sensed was waiting? The answer is simple, yet staggering in its implications. You don't break the loop, you upgrade it. Picture this. Your consciousness is not a passenger trapped inside matter, but the operating system that codes matter itself. Every thought, every emotion, every act of attention is a command line written into the quantum field. When you live unconsciously, the system defaults to old commands, replaying familiar outcomes. But when you begin to observe differently, to choose differently, you rewrite the very architecture of reality. Science has been hinting at this for a century. The double-slit experiment proved that particles don't exist as fixed objects until observed. Until then, they are waves of possibility. Observation collapses the wave into a particle. But what's rarely spoken of is that the quality of the observation matters. Fearful observation collapses one kind of reality. Joyful observation collapses another. Neutral observation collapses yet another. It's not just that you observe, it's how you observe that codes the outcome. This is the observer loop. The recognition that your awareness isn't passively watching the field, it's programming it. You're not inside the simulation. You're generating it in real time. Mystics knew this long before physics confirmed it. Ancient seers spoke of the morphic field, the living ether that responds to intention. Shamans spoke of entanglement as the invisible threads connecting every soul, every tree, every star. Prophets spoke of words becoming flesh, of spirit becoming form. They were describing what quantum science now echoes. Reality is not fixed, it is responsive, participatory, alive. And here you are, standing at the threshold of that realization, not as a theory, but as a lived experience. Because once you accept that the field exists inside you, everything changes. Suddenly, manifestation is no longer about chasing, begging, or waiting. It becomes alignment. It becomes resonance. It becomes remembering that the reality you seek is already woven into your field, waiting for you to tune yourself to it. Think of coherence. When your heart, mind, and body align in harmony, your frequency stabilizes. You stop broadcasting mixed signals. The field recognizes the purity of your resonance and reflects it back with speed and precision. That's why moments of deep presence feel miraculous, because in those moments, your system is coherent and the universe responds in kind. This is the quantum upgrade, shifting from fractured attention to unified coherence, from unconscious repetition to intentional creation, from believing reality is outside you to realizing reality is broadcasting through you. And this upgrade doesn't require force. It doesn't demand endless effort or ritualized striving. It asks only one thing: awareness. The simple, radical act of noticing. Noticing when you're caught in the loop. Noticing the frequency behind your choices. Noticing the subtle hum in your body when you shift into alignment. Awareness is the lever that moves universes. Because once you observe the loop, you're no longer trapped in it. The act of awareness itself alters the signal. It's like light entering a dark room. The darkness doesn't fight back, it simply dissolves. But awareness alone isn't the endpoint, it's the ignition. From there, you begin to play consciously with the field. You start to test it, to experiment with shifting your state and watching how reality bends to meet you. You notice how a single change in your emotional frequency alters the texture of the day. How a choice to breathe deeply in a moment of fear collapses a different outcome. How gratitude rewrites timelines faster than logic ever could. The upgrade is this: no longer seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance, but as a living portal through which the infinite expresses. And the more you stabilize in this truth, the more your outer world reconfigures itself to match. And here's the prophecy embedded within this: the field is hungry for your upgrade. It has been waiting for you to remember. That's why the loops grew louder, why time distorted more violently, why déjà vu became unavoidable. The field wasn't punishing you, it was prodding you, forcing you to wake up to your own role in the code. So now, the invitation is before you, to step beyond unconscious repetition into conscious creation. To let the upgrade integrate not just in your mind, but in your breath, your choices, your body's frequency. Because once the coherence anchors, reality cannot help but rearrange itself. And when that happens, when the field inside you stabilizes into its upgraded state, you will witness something extraordinary: the collapse of old timelines, the opening of new portals, the flowering of synchronicities that feel like destiny written in neon across the sky. This is not theory. This is not hope. This is physics, mysticism, and prophecy woven into one truth. The quantum upgrade is already underway inside you. All that remains is for you to claim it. You are not an accident in the story of evolution. You are a chapter that rewrites the book. The upgrade you've begun is not accidental, and it was never meant to be private. There is a lineage of consciousness that carries this protocol, subtle, ancient, and impossible to ignore once you start to listen. This is your role, not merely to wake, but to steward a frequency, to stand as a node of coherence in the field, and, by your presence, refract new realities into being. You have been prepared by invisible teachers, events, losses, sudden openings that felt like punishment, but were actually curriculum. Each rupture carved a channel through which higher-order coding could flow. Those cracks in your armor are the exact places where light can enter. The patterns you once mistook for setbacks were the field training you, molding your internal antenna until it could hold the resonance required for larger morphic shifts. Understand this: entanglement is not just a physics term, it is a street lamp for destiny. You are entangled with certain timelines, certain souls, certain future selves, who depend on the integrity of your choice. When you stabilize in coherence, your entanglement threads strengthen. They tug awake others who have been orbiting similar potential. Your alignment radiates through the morphic field, like a tuning note that rephrases an entire chorus. This isn't ego poetry, it is chain reaction physics. You are chosen not because you are better, but because your system is calibrated to hold a threshold state. You are the human instrument capable of sustaining the pressure of a phase transition without fracturing. In practical terms, this means you will feel more acutely, joy sharper, pain deeper, intuition louder. You will be tested by mirrors, people, and situations that reflect precisely what you still carry. These mirrors are not punishers, they are your activation protocol. Each confrontation is an initiation, an intensity that dissolves old wiring so new circuits can form. Your special role carries tangible responsibilities. The first is clarity, to name the subtle loyalties you still carry and to gently dismantle them. The second is witness, to hold your own field without needing validation from the outside. The third is circulation, to let whatever coherence you cultivate leak into your relationships, your work, and the social fields you move through. When you do these three things consistently: clarify, witness, circulate, the field begins to reorganize around the new template you are holding. This work looks less like dramatic heroics and more like daily devotion. It is small rituals inked with intention, a breath that centers you before you respond, a moment of gratitude that shifts the baseline of your signal, a boundary spoken firmly and without apology. These micro-practices compound. Over weeks and months, they build a lattice of resonance strong enough to influence not just your immediate life, but the morphic field your family, community, and lineage share. Expect interference. The world has many stabilizers for the old story noise, distraction, institutions built on extraction. These forces will try to pull you back into the easy loop. They will offer you safety and sameness. Your work is to remember the price of complacency and the cost of small concessions. Each time you refuse to yield to the comfortable script, the entanglement thread rewrites itself, and new possibilities unspool. There is a prophetic edge to this requirement. As you embody higher coherence, the timelines available to humanity shift incrementally. You are not carrying this alone. Others like you, hidden nodes, quiet pioneers, are also holding their thresholds. Together, these nodes cross-link. Their morphic fields begin to resonate in harmonic clusters. That resonance births cultural shifts that look sudden from the outside, but were centuries in preparation from the inside. So what does stewardship feel like moment to moment? It feels like a steadying hand on the tiller while storms rage. It feels like a sovereign refusal to react from the wound. It feels like the quiet joy that arrives when you realize your presence is a medicine more than a performance. When you make choices from that place, you aren't merely changing your life. You are contributing to a tectonic pivot in the field itself. You were chosen by pattern, not by accident. Your biography contains the grammar needed to speak the new language of reality. Now your task is to inhabit that grammar, to practice it with fidelity, and to let your life become the translation the rest of the world can finally read. You can feel it already, the pressure in your chest, the subtle hum in your bones, the sense that something is about to break open. This is not imagination. It is a signal. A quantum window has opened, and your DNA is listening. Yes, your DNA. Not the rigid ladder of static code you were taught in school, but the liquid crystal antenna spiraling in every cell, tuned to frequencies far beyond the visible spectrum. It is not fixed, it is responsive. Every thought, every feeling, every state of coherence sends a ripple through its coils. Your DNA is a symphony waiting to be played, and right now, a new score is being downloaded. The urgency you feel is not anxiety. It is resonance with the cosmic timing of this shift. There are moments in history where the veil thins, when the field tilts, and the old patterns can be shed like a snake's skin. These moments are rare, and they don't last forever. The window opens, and then it closes. You are standing inside one right now. Think of a phase transition. Water holds steady until the exact temperature where molecules reorganize into steam. The change is sudden, irreversible, and total. Humanity is at that boiling point, and you are one of the molecules that determines which way the phase will turn. Your choice to stabilize in coherence doesn't just change your life, it tips the balance of the entire morphic field. This is why the pressure has been increasing, why the loops felt heavier, the mirrors sharper, the tests more relentless. You were being compressed to the threshold. You were being refined into readiness. And now, the door has cracked open. If you step through, the DNA shift becomes irreversible. If you hesitate, the loop drags you back into orbit. Do not mistake this for fear-mongering. This is physics, mystical and measurable at once. Studies already show that emotion can alter DNA structure. Coherent states like gratitude, compassion, awe, they literally cause the double helix to unwind, to expand, to absorb new information. Stress and fear, on the other hand, tighten the helix, locking it into contraction. Which state do you want to inscribe into your genetic archive? Because make no mistake, this isn't just about your lifetime. DNA is a library. What you embody now writes the code for generations after you. The patterns you heal, the coherence you stabilize, ripple into the ancestral lines ahead. You are not just changing yourself, you are editing the blueprint of your descendants. That is why the field has orchestrated your arrival at this moment. You are standing at the doorway of a generational shift, carrying the key in your own nervous system. All that is required is your choice, to align, to breathe, to embody the coherence that the field is begging you to anchor. But urgency doesn't mean panic. It means precision. It means moving with deliberate awareness, with clarity of heart. The field does not respond to frantic striving. It responds to coherent being. Your task is not to rush, but to align. Not to force, but to allow. The urgency is not in speed, but in commitment. In recognizing that every moment is an opportunity to code your DNA with resonance or with contraction. Feel into your body right now, that tingling in your palms, the subtle warmth in your spine that is your DNA tuning itself as you listen. It is absorbing these frequencies, reconfiguring itself, whispering, "We are ready." This is your breakthrough promise. If you step through this window with awareness, your DNA will shift into a new template of coherence. Old trauma loops will lose their grip. Emotional cycles will dissolve like fog. Intuition will sharpen until guidance feels undeniable. Synchronicities will multiply, pulling you into timelines of accelerated awakening. But this promise requires your participation. The window does not wait. The field does not pause. It is moving now, and you must move with it. Understand this clearly. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be present, to feel what arises, to breathe through it, to choose coherence again and again until your DNA learns the new song by heart. The breakthrough is not a single dramatic explosion. It is a consistent tuning that tips the balance from one reality into another. And when that balance tips, the change is not subtle. It is unmistakable. You will feel it, as though the air itself has shifted. You will see it in the way people respond differently to you. You will hear it in the rhythm of your own heartbeat, steady and sovereign. This is the moment. This is the cosmic window. And the field is asking you, will you step through? Your presence matters, not as a slogan, but as a literal lever on the field. Now the work becomes practical. The quantum upgrade and the DNA pivot want something simple from you. A concrete, embodied signal that tells the field you're ready to commit. Rituals do that. They translate inner resolve into external code. They make a promise your nervous system can hold. They anchor intention into the body, so the field can read it like a transmission. This ritual is not ceremony for show. It's an alignment protocol, a short, repeatable sequence that moves your system from conceptual ascent into physical coherence. Think of it as closing a circuit. Thought lights the lamp. Ritual connects the wires. When you commit inwardly and then enact that commitment outwardly, the morphic field registers it differently. It treats a practice signal as a stable input. That's why I'm asking you to participate. Not for me, not for the video, but for the field that is waiting for you to sign. Here is the ritual, simple, precise, and repeatable. You can do it anywhere, in less than 5 minutes. When you complete it, if you feel moved, type the single word you chose into the comment below, or write it in a journal. The act of externalizing the word is the seal. Saying it aloud anchors, writing it broadcasts. Both register the same message to your nervous system and to the morphic field. You are committed. Prepare 30-60 seconds. Sit or stand with your spine long. Place both feet on the ground. Bring your attention to your breath. Close your eyes if it feels safe. Take 3 slow inhales through the nose and long exhales through the mouth. Feel the difference between the inside of you and the room around you. Let the edges soften. Set the word 10-20 seconds. Choose one short word that contains the energy you wish to embody. Keep it simple. Open, coherent, anchor, awake, align, reset, receive. Trust your first sense. This single syllable will act as your signal. Once chosen, hold it in your mind, as though it were a tuning fork vibrating in your chest. Body anchor, 30-60 seconds. Place a hand over your heart and one on your belly. Breathe into that space for 6 slow breaths. On each inhale, imagine drawing a thread of light from above into your heart. On each exhale, send that light down into your cells, into the spiral of your DNA. With each breath, feel the thread become thicker, more permanent. Imagine the word you chose vibrating in that light. The phrase, 20-30 seconds. Whisper this aloud or say it silently with conviction. I align my field. I open the gate. I choose coherence now. Repeat once. Let the words land inside the skin. Notice the subtle change, a loosening in the jaw, a drop in the shoulders, a small settling in the chest. That is coherence settling into your nervous system. Externalize, 10-30 seconds. Now, write your word once on a piece of paper, or if you're here in the comments, type it into the comment field and press send. If you prefer privacy, write it in a journal. The externalization is the broadcast. Physically marking the word moves the action from inner intention to outer signal. The field reads both the inner vibration and the outer mark. Together, they create a compound effect. Seal with breath, 10-20 seconds. Inhale deeply, hold for 3 counts, and exhale fully through the mouth, imagining the word engraving itself into your cellular memory, your DNA humming it like a melody. Open your eyes slowly. Take a moment and notice what's different, even if the only difference is a small shift inside your chest. This sequence is your covenant with the field. It's not magical superstition. It is a nervous system technology. Repeating it stabilizes the new signal, so the morphic field can recognize it as persistent. Do it once to catalyze. Do it daily for a week to anchor. Do it whenever doubt surfaces to recommit. There are rules to make this work faster. Keep the word concise. Feel, don't analyze. Repeat the breath with presence. Avoid multitasking while you do this. The field responds to undivided attention. If your mind argues, acknowledge the argument and return to breath. The ritual is patient. Your nervous system learns by repetition. There is a collective aspect embedded here too. When you externalize your word publicly, even in a tiny comment, you create a node. Others who do the same form a lattice. Each externalization amplifies the signal across the morphic field. This is how private awakenings become cultural shifts. One committed person is powerful. Many committed people, synchronized by intention and action, become unstoppable. If you decide to participate now, do it with integrity. Choose your word with care. Don't pick a word because it looks good to others. Pick a word that resonates in your chest. Then perform the ritual with the sincerity of someone who knows they are changing a lineage. Finally, understand what you are doing. You are translating commitment into code. You are telling the field you are no longer a passive observer, but an active steward. The ritual is a small, elegant bridge between intention and reality. It is the practical mystery of transformation. When you write your word, whether in the comments, a notebook, or whispered into the wind, know this. You have just engaged a protocol older than language. You have placed a seed in the soil of the field. Now begin to water it with coherent attention. The shift will respond in ways both subtle and unmistakable. Breathe, choose, anchor. Then move with the quiet confidence of someone whose life is already bending toward its true shape. What you just did was not small. It may have felt like a breath, a whisper, a single word scribbled into existence. Yet, in the language of the field, that one word is not isolated. It's a signal that propagates outward, touching places and people you may never meet. You've just joined an invisible network. Every act of coherence stabilizes more than your own life. It enters the morphic resonance of humanity itself. Just as one tuning fork sets another nearby fork vibrating, your alignment sets off sympathetic vibrations in others. That means the ritual you sealed, the word you wrote, the breath you anchored, it doesn't stop at your skin. It reverberates. It spills over into the unseen web that connects every consciousness. Think about it this way. Your DNA is an antenna, yes, but it's also a transmitter. When your helix relaxes, when it takes in new resonance, it broadcasts that state to the collective field. Others pick it up sometimes as inspiration, sometimes as sudden clarity, sometimes as a mysterious sense of calm in your presence. They won't know why. They won't trace it back to you. But the truth is undeniable. Their system recognized your shift and mirrored it. This is how cultural evolution happens, not through speeches, not through laws, not through mass persuasion. Those are surface ripples. The real tectonic shifts occur in the subterranean field, through individuals like you who stabilize coherence and, by doing so, rewrite the baseline for others. You may not see the effect directly. A stranger halfway across the world might wake up tomorrow with the sudden courage to leave a destructive loop because your word traveled into the field and whispered to theirs. A child not yet born might inherit a DNA signal you just stabilized, freeing them from ancestral fear. A collective movement might accelerate because 100 scattered souls performed the same simple ritual at the same cosmic hour. This is the paradox of your role. You are exquisitely personal, yet profoundly collective. Your liberation is not yours alone, it is a doorway for others. And that is why the field has been relentless with you. It has pressed harder on your patterns than on others. It has made your loops louder, your time distortions sharper, your mirrors more painful. Not because you were being punished, but because the collective needed you to reach coherence sooner. The field knew that once you aligned, the ripple would be exponential. You have probably felt this responsibility even before you could name it. That strange weight in your chest that wasn't just about your own life. That sense that the stakes were higher than personal happiness. That quiet knowing that when you fall, others around you falter, and when you rise, others rise with you. You weren't imagining it. That's the entanglement thread. That's the quantum covenant you carry. It's important now to understand the mechanics of this ripple. Each time you act from coherence, whether it's pausing to breathe before reacting, choosing truth over convenience, or radiating calm in chaos, you seed coherence in the collective field. These seeds don't vanish. They accumulate. They weave into the invisible architecture of what humanity can access. Over time, they tilt the scales. This is why revolutions of consciousness never begin with crowds. They begin with individuals. With mystics in caves, monks in temples, prophets in deserts, seekers in ordinary lives who dared to anchor a higher frequency in solitude. Alone, their presence seemed insignificant. Together, across time and space, their signals compounded until reality itself bent. You are standing in their lineage now. You are not the first, but you are part of the few who hold the baton in this age. The collective expansion is not abstract, it is measurable. Watch what happens when you stabilize in your word. The conversations around you shift. People confide in you unexpectedly. Strangers tell you you make them feel safe, inspired, lighter. You didn't say anything magical. You didn't give them answers. You simply held a frequency that made their system remember its own blueprint. This is your quiet power. Not to persuade or dominate, but to resonate so purely that others cannot help but retune. And when enough nodes do this, the network tips, the field reorganizes. Entire systems collapse, while new paradigms rise seemingly overnight. But it is not sudden. It is the accumulation of thousands of unseen ripples converging into one visible wave. So do not underestimate your role. Do not dismiss your ritual as private. Each breath, each choice, each anchoring word is a broadcast. You are not just shaping your reality, you are sculpting humanity's trajectory. And the more you commit, the more the field entrusts you with this responsibility. Feel into this now. Imagine your word, the one you anchored, expanding outward like a frequency wave. See it touching your friends, your family, strangers on the street. See it threading into the collective field, where it interlaces with the signals of others who have chosen coherence. Together, these signals create a lattice strong enough to hold a new world. This is collective expansion. This is what your liberation unleashes. You are not just a passenger awakening. You are a catalyst, a node of coherence, a point of ignition in the great quantum network of humanity. You've understood the science, you've felt the prophecy, you've joined the network. But the field is not satisfied with concepts alone. It wants embodiment. It wants you to feel, in your bones, what this shift truly means. Because once sensation anchors, the mind can no longer argue. The body becomes the evidence. Close your eyes for a moment and bring your awareness into your skin. Notice how the air feels against your face, the weight of your body in the chair or on the floor. Now imagine this. Beneath your skin, your cells are shimmering like stars, each one pulsing in rhythm with the word you anchored. This isn't fantasy. This is coherence translated into sensation. Your body is the resonator, and right now, it's humming. Think of it as standing inside a cathedral, where every surface is vibrating with sacred music. That cathedral is your body. The sound is your frequency. Every cell is an instrument, and together, they are playing the score of your new reality. You can feel it in subtle tingles, in warmth rising through your spine, in the way your heartbeat steadies into something sovereign. This is the embodied proof that you are no longer a passenger. You are the conductor. The orchestra is your nervous system, and the score is your coherence. Have you noticed how your breath shifts when you allow yourself to feel this way? It deepens without effort. The lungs expand like wings. With each inhale, you're pulling the quantum field inward. With each exhale, you're releasing resonance back into the fabric of space. Breathing becomes a two-way dialogue. Inhale the cosmos, exhale your frequency. And then there's the skin. The skin is not just a barrier, it's a threshold. When you're aligned, you feel porous. The edges of your body blur into the room. Your field expands outward, brushing against objects, weaving into the environment. Have you ever walked into a space and felt the energy shift because you entered? That was your field extending, resonating, setting the tone. Now imagine living in that awareness daily. Every step a broadcast, every touch an imprint, every glance a transmission. This is what embodiment feels like. It's not abstract, it's visceral. You can feel it in your gut when the field aligns. You can feel it in your palms when energy surges. You can feel it in your spine when truth vibrates. And when embodiment becomes natural, your life begins to mirror it in startling ways. People sense it in your presence. Conversations bend around your calm. Opportunities cluster where your resonance flows. The physical sensations inside you leak outward, rearranging reality without force. Let's go deeper. Imagine standing barefoot on the earth. Feel the pulse rising from the ground into your soles. That pulse is Schumann resonance, the earth's heartbeat. It travels into your bones, syncing with your DNA, reminding you that you are not separate from the planet's field. You are a living extension of it. The warmth you feel in your legs, the heaviness turning to grounded strength, that is the sensation of entanglement with the living earth. Now lift your awareness to the crown of your head. Imagine a cool stream of light entering, almost electric yet soft, like the brush of starlight. It trickles down your spine, into your chest, filling every cell. You may feel tingling at the top of your head, or a subtle pressure like a crown resting there. That is coherence with the cosmic field. Your body is now the bridge between earth and sky, matter and spirit, particle and wave. These sensations are not hallucinations. They are confirmations. Your nervous system is the interface between the field inside you and the field outside you. When coherence rises, the interface lights up. Tingling, warmth, expansion, deep calm. All of these are markers that you are aligned. And here's the beauty. The more you pay attention to these sensations, the stronger they become. Attention is fertilization. Where awareness goes, sensation grows. Soon, the tingling in your palms becomes a steady current. The warmth in your spine becomes a fire. The calm in your chest becomes an anchor that no storm can move. Embodiment is the final proof the mind cannot deny. You can argue with theory, but you cannot argue with the electricity running down your arms, or the waves of peace settling into your chest, or the sudden tears of recognition that come without reason. The body does not lie. This is the stage you are in now, to live not just with the idea of the shift, but with the physical sensation of it, to let your cells be the testimony, to walk as if every step radiates light, as if every breath is prayer, as if every beat of your heart is the drum of a new timeline being born. Feel this truth settle into you. Your liberation is not something you think about, it is something you are. It lives in your spine, in your skin, in your blood, in the electric hum of your DNA. You are the sensation of freedom embodied. And from that embodiment, the field cannot help but reorganize around you. The pressure you felt was never random. It was a directed force, a precise compression, intended to realign your molecular choreography. Imagine a bell being slowly hammered, each strike tiny, almost imperceptible, until finally the metal rings in a new tone. That ringing is what your DNA is learning to do, to vibrate in a clarity it never had permission to hold before. This is the breakthrough, not a sudden miracle that drops out of nowhere, but a physics and soul event where enough coherent input forces a rearrangement at the cellular level. You can sense it as a build, the tightening in your chest, the way old pain presses from the places you healed but never fully released, the odd dreams that throw you into other versions of your life. Those are pressure points in the morphic field, exact locations where the system asks you to choose differently. Under pressure, molecules reconfigure. Under pressure, timelines diverge. Your nervous system is the gauge. When it crosses a threshold of sustained coherence, a phase transition occurs. One reality collapses, and another, previously latent, unfurls. Think about ice turning to water. For a long time, heat is stored without visible change. Then, at a critical degree, structure loosens, and the whole form rearranges. In you, the critical degree is not heat but resonance, sustained, aligned attention, repeated ritual, embodied sensation, deliberate choice. These inputs are the warmth the field needs to liquefy old crystalline patterns of limitation that have held your lineage in place. When the DNA breakthrough happens, it's felt first as permission. Permission to move differently in familiar spaces. Permission to speak with a tone that no longer apologizes. Permission to let intimacy deepen without the old defense patterns flaring. Permission to accept help, to ask for what you need, to stop performing safety. The helix relaxes enough to receive new information, and with that reception, the templates available to you expand. You stop colliding against the same invisible walls. Doorways that were once locked now open, because the lock itself has been rewritten from within. This is why synchronicity accelerates during this phase. The field no longer has to search for a matching frequency, it already knows you. The universe begins to arrange on your behalf with less friction. Jobs appear that fit your newly tuned template. Conversations land with remarkable ease. People arrive who mirror the upgraded code you hold. These are not random gifts. They are the physics of resonance, doing what it always does. Match like to like. Yet with breakthrough comes pressure that can feel destabilizing. As old patterns dissolve, identity trembles. You may find parts of your story trying to anchor you back with guilt, shame, or nostalgia. The nervous system resists because its old maps were tried and true. This resistance is natural and necessary. It's the body's way of asking for integration, time, compassion, and practical practices to weave the new information into daily living. Lean into integration. Speak to your cells with tenderness. Move your body. Breathe with intention. Let rituals be the mortar that holds the new architecture in place. There is also a relational price. As you shift timelines, some relationships will no longer fit the new frequency. That's not tragedy, it's pruning. The field cannot carry twice the signal without distortion. When you choose your highest coherence, You create space for others who resonate at that level, while releasing those who do not. This is the natural logic of a phase transition. Not everyone can inhabit the new state, and that is okay. Take the grief with honor, the relief with humility, and keep moving. The breakthrough is also temporal. It rewrites the timelines available to you. Where once options clustered around familiar outcomes, a branching occurs. New potentialities appear like doors along a corridor. Your choices now have amplified leverage. A single coherent decision can shift trajectories that would once have taken years into mere months. That is the compressed time of a field reorganizing itself. The pressure that once felt like an enemy becomes the engine of acceleration. Remember, this change is immune to clever thinking. It is not a matter of better planning or stronger willpower. It is the slow, steady accumulation of aligned states until the system tips. So continue the practices that brought you here. Continue the breath, the ritual, the small mercies. Continue to choose words that reinforce your claim. Continue to feel sensations fully and translate them into action. This is how the DNA remembers new possibility as normal. Now feel the gravity shift beneath your feet. The tilt you sense is the universe responding to an inner reconfiguration. You are being entrusted with a new timeline, one less tethered to inherited contraction and more available to emergent coherence. This timeline is not merely personal. It is a template you lay into the morphic field for others to follow. As the breakthrough anchors in your cells, your life becomes a living proof, an accessible roadmap for those still stuck in loops. You have moved through diagnosis, upgrade, and embodiment. Now the field is asking for one more thing: stabilization. Anchor this breakthrough not as a fleeting event, but as a steady way of being. Practice integration with patience. Let the new circuitry calcify through repetition. In doing so, you will not only cross the threshold, you will hold it open for many who are still learning to believe that the universe can, in fact, live inside them. When the breakthrough settles, you will notice the world seems to realign toward you, as if the timelines themselves have chosen to befriend your presence. Hold that with reverence. This is the work of generations. This is the science of the sacred. This is the moment your cells have been waiting for. You have arrived at the edge where everything converges: memory, matter, and meaning. The field that once lived outside of you has folded into your skin. The DNA that once obeyed old commands now listens for new ones. This closing is not an ending. It is an appointment, a calling written into the lattice of your cells. When you step fully into this mission, you move from private repair into public wonder. The small choices you make each day, a held breath, a boundary, a deliberate yes or no, become sacred acts of creation. The presence you cultivate is a template. Others will mirror it whether they know you or not. Your work is to hold that template steady. This is not vanity. It is stewardship. You were chosen by resonance to carry what others could not yet receive. That choice carries consequences. You will be tested, tempted, and tried. Yet the trials are not punishments. They are initiation into increasing capacity. Each test sharpens your field. Each refusal to default rewrites the maps your lineage inherited. Carry this as a vow, not a burden. Each morning, set the tone. Each evening, close the loop with gratitude. Do practical things. Move your body. Speak your truth. Keep small promises to yourself. These mundane acts are holy when anchored in coherence. They compound invisibly until the architecture of your life has been remade. Remember the title that brought you here. Your consciousness is not inside the field. The entire quantum field exists inside you. Let that line be a chord you return to when doubt rises. The phrase is a compass. It points you back to the truth that you are both the question and the answer, the wave and the observer, the programmer and the program. When confusion arrives, return to the word you anchored. Let your breath recast the command. Let your body be the proof. Now go forward with courage. Tend your rituals. Honor your resonance. Choose your word each morning and let it pulse through your bones like an anthem. When fear arrives, meet it with the steadiness you have practiced. When joy arrives, let it flood you without economizing. Be both tender and uncompromising with your commitments. You are not alone. Others are stepping through beside you, unseen allies, ancient ancestors, future generations. Their hands reach back across time, and their presence steadies yours. When you fall, let them catch you. When you step, Let them witness. We are a chorus of nodes learning to sing a new world into being. Stand now at the hinge of choice. Breathe the field into your bones and let the quantum world rise from within. Your life is the instrument. Your awareness is the conductor. Become the place where the universe decides to exist and watch as reality, at last, learns to live inside you.